Good morning, students. Welcome back to this session in which I am going to take up the second part of the two stories about flying. The first story you have read, and this second story is about a person. The first story was about a little bird, that is the seagull, which tries to fly, and how its family enables or encourages the seagull to take a flight. But it was so fearful that it could not muster the courage to fly, although with lot of efforts of its mother, father, and brothers and sisters, it could finally fly. Now, the other story is The Black Aeroplane that we are going to read. It is about the author himself, Frederick Forsyth. The author was a pilot himself, and he once had a very different and very strange experience of when he was flying in his aircraft. How many of you want to become a pilot? Do you think that the job of being a pilot is a very adventurous one? Yes, of course, it is adventurous. It is very thrilling. And I hope some of the boys or the girls also wish to be pilots. Now, sometimes, there are such situations where you have to be very, very alert, and you have to see that you do not lose the control of your mind. In such situations, how do you come out of it? What guides you? What is your conscience that tells you that what you should do? Now, you have read about, or you must have heard about, a number of stories about the disasters of the aircrafts that they face, and also you must have heard the stories of the brave crew members, the air hostess, and the pilots who have really saved the lives of number of people on board, and they have been successful. Maybe it was a problem of you can say maybe the aircraft was hijacked, or it was in a difficult situation, or the weather condition was bad. There are number of stories which inspire you. These great people, they are great in the sense that they had used the presence of mind to help the people and help themselves. So when they were on the flight, you must have heard the name of Neerja Bhanot. There was also a movie on it, Neerja. So do you know the story? Please read about Neerja Bhanot, how bravely, how courageously she faced the terrorists when the aircraft from Bombay to US was hijacked somewhere in Pakistan. And there she was shot dead by the terrorists, but she did not leave the passengers and go. Although the cockpit, the members, the crew members, the co-pilot, the pilot, they all had fled. They ran away for their lives. But Neerja decided to be in the aircraft and help the passengers. It was carrying 380 passengers. So these are the brave people who really think what they are supposed to do. Similarly, you must have heard about the Air Force officer, Wing Commander Abhinandan Vardhaman. When he was chasing a Pakistani aircraft, he entered the airspace of Pakistan, and there his aircraft was shot down, and he was taken as a captive. He was grilled and tortured in Pakistan, but later on, with the help of the Indian government, he was released. But he was a courageous man. He had his conscious, very alert and active what he was doing. So there are numerous stories which inspire you, and it is really a very, very thrilling experience to be a pilot, and or in any other adventurous jobs you can experience the thrill. So in this story also you will see how this the pilot, the author, who was a pilot himself of the Royal Air Force, RAF, he belonged to England, and he served the RAF, and there when he was a pilot he had experienced this kind of miracle. He miraculously escaped and landed very safely when he was once caught in the storm. So he has narrated the story, the experience, what he felt when he was caught in the storm clouds. And he was at that time flying his military fighter plane Dakota, and at that time when he was completely lost, all the gadgets in the cockpit in the aircraft were not working, but his mind was working. His conscience was there, which was, although he was having a fear in his mind, yet there was a kind of conscience which was helping him, guiding him, which he felt as though there was in reality an aircraft and another pilot who was guiding him and helping him in the time of difficulty. This situation we call it as hallucinating. You know, the author was perhaps hallucinating. Hallucination means you think of a situation which is not real, but it's there in your mind and you feel that it is happening, it is reality. So this is what happened with Frederick Forsyth. And so now we will read the chapter and understand as well as enjoy the story. So students, we are now going to start with the story, The Black Aeroplane. Now you can see the author, Frederick Forsyth. Frederick Forsyth is the New York Times best-selling author of 17 novels, including The Day of the Jackal and The Odessa File, as well as short story collections and a memoir. A former Air Force pilot and one-time print and television reporter for the BBC, he has had 4 movies and 2 television mini-series made for his works. Forsyth is the winner of 3 Edgar Awards, and in 2012 he won the Diamond Dagger Award from the Crime Writers Association, a lifetime achievement award for sustained excellence. He lives in Buckinghamshire, England. So he is the living author, novelist, and story writer who writes very thrilling stories. Now students, you are going to come across certain words in the story related to the aircraft or aircraft flying. So the first word is Dakota. Dakota is the name of the aeroplane, and it is actually known as Douglas C-47 Skytrain, which is also known as Dakota. It is a military transport aircraft used extensively during World War II. Radar. Electronic device used for detecting radio waves to determine the range, position, angle, or velocity of aircrafts, ships, guided missiles, spacecraft, etc. The full form, I hope some of you may be knowing the full form of radar: radio detection and ranging device. Now what can you see in front of you? Yes, it is a ATC tower. It is air traffic control tower. It is a service provided by the ground-based air traffic controllers who direct aircraft on the ground and through controlled airspace, and can provide advisory services to aircraft in non-controlled airspace. The primary purpose of ATC worldwide is to prevent collisions, organize and expedite the flow of air traffic, and provide information and other support for pilots. In some countries, ATC plays a security or defensive role or is operated by the military. A magnetic compass. A magnetic compass aboard an aircraft displays the current magnetic heading of the aircraft. Heading, the movement, which way, which direction, that is the aircraft's directional orientation relative to the Earth's geomagnetic field, which has a roughly north-south orientation. Now what can you see in the picture? Yes, of course, it is the runway. It is also called as airstrip, and you can see the line that is marked in the middle of the airstrip or the runway. The pilot has to follow that. Now in this picture you can see the front part of the aircraft, which is nose of the aeroplane. So when you will read the story, you will come across this sentence, this word, nose of the aeroplane. Now what is the nose of the aeroplane? Now there is a difference. You can see there is one is rounded and one is pointed. Why is it so? The nose of an aeroplane is very important to flight. The nose of an aeroplane is very important to flight, like the tip of an arrow. It decides where the plane is going to go. All of the elements of flight depend on keeping the nose pointed in the right direction. It also plays a key role in limiting drag around the aircraft. It slices through the air, allowing it to flow around the aircraft in a gentle way that won't slow it down. In that way, it is very important in keeping the plane efficient. The next time you are sitting at the airport waiting for a flight, look outside at the tarmac and you will probably discover two types of noses on airplanes. Some airplanes have a pointed nose, whereas others have a rounded or blunt nose. Granted, most commercial airplanes, including the Boeing 747 and the massive Airbus A380, have a rounded nose. Most military airplanes as well as some commercial airplanes, on the other hand, have a pointed nose. So why do some airplanes have a pointed nose and others a rounded nose? Subsonic versus supersonic speeds. To determine whether to use a pointed nose or a rounded nose on an airplane, aerospace manufacturing companies consider the airplane's speed. Subsonic airplanes, those flying slower than the speed of sound, are given a rounded nose. In comparison, supersonic airplanes, those flying faster than the speed of sound, are given a pointed nose. So students, now that you are acquainted with some of the important words that you will find in the chapter, in the story, now we are prepared to read the story. So we'll start with the reading of the story. This is the experience of the pilot, the author himself. And in the picture you can see, it is the picture of the cockpit where the pilot is sitting on his seat and flying an aeroplane. The moon was coming up in the east behind me, and the stars were shining in the clear sky above me. The moon was coming up in the east behind me. Now you can understand which direction the aeroplane was heading. The moon was coming up in the east side, that is behind me. The author says that it was behind him, and therefore he was heading towards the west direction. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy to be alone high up above the sleeping countryside. Sleeping countryside. Now you can understand that it was night time when the pilot was flying the plane. And he says that he was very happy to be alone high up in the sky. I was flying my old Dakota. Aeroplane over France back to England. So where was the author going? He was flying his Dakota aeroplane over France, and he was flying back to England. The author belonged to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch, 1:30 in the morning. So it was 1:30 a.m. and in this early morning time, he was high up in the sky in his Dakota aeroplane. And he was happy because he was flying back to his family, to his country, and he wanted to be with his family. I should call Paris Control soon, I thought, as I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane. So just a few minutes ago I had shown you the nose of the aeroplane. So the cockpit, the pilot can see the nose of the aeroplane. So he's a little at a higher edge. So the author says, as I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane, I saw the lights of a big city in front of me. So from the countryside, because you know that the airports are far away from the main cities. So when he had flown from the airport over the countryside, now he could see the lights of big city in front of him. And so he thought that he should call the Paris control towers. I just now showed you that control towers at Paris, because he had started his flight from there. And so he thought that he should switch on the radio and said, Paris Control, Dakota DS-088 here. Can you hear me? I am on my way to England. So this is how the pilots communicate or talk with or send signals or send the messages in short. They don't speak too many big sentences or paragraphs. They just give very short messages to the control rooms, control towers. So he calls Paris Control and he tells the name of his plane, and he asks them whether they could hear him. I am on my way to England. Over. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS-088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS-088, over. So this is how the control towers, they give the directions to the pilot, that which direction they have to turn and what is the degree or what is the angle that they should turn the plane to. So, and when he had crossed the countryside and when he had seen the big city in front of him from the top at high level from his aircraft, he thought now he should take the directions from the Paris Control towers. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I will be in time for breakfast. I thought, a good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. So when he got the directions from the control towers, he checked the map and the compass. Everything was working. And see, the pilots have to be very alert with all the gadgets there. They have to check the map, they have to check the compass and see that all the engines are working, everything. They have to be very alert. And they also have to take care of the fuel tanks also. So he switched over to his second and last fuel tank and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England, because this was the direction given by the Paris control towers. I will be in time for breakfast. So it was 1:30 in the morning, early morning, and now he thought that he would reach England by the time it is for time for breakfast. A good big English breakfast. English breakfast, specifically, English means belonging to England. So he was happy that he will have breakfast with his a family, which would be very delicious and sumptuous. Everything was going on well. It was an easy flight. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me when I saw the clouds. Storm clouds. They were huge. They looked like black mountains standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. I ought to go back to Paris, I thought, but I wanted to get home. So the pilot was in a dilemma. Now he when he saw the storm clouds suddenly, when he had crossed 150 kilometers and Paris was that far away, he was heading towards England, his country. Suddenly there were storm clouds and he felt, I don't know how many of you have flown. If you must have gone in a flight, you must have seen the clouds sometimes, they cover the aircraft from all, they surround it, and you just can't see when the aircraft moves in between the clouds. So they were huge clouds, and the author saw that they were looking like black mountains standing in front of him across the sky. I knew I could not fly up and over them, and I did not have enough fuel to fly around them to the north or south. So he could not deflect the aircraft. He could not move it to any other direction other than the west. So he says that he couldn't move the aircraft or turn the aircraft either to the north or the south side, so that he could avoid the clouds or the storm clouds there. And he was also aware that he was not having enough fuel to fly around them, and neither he could go upwards to fly over them. I ought to go back to Paris. So that was one thought in his mind. And the second thought, on the other hand, was a different one, which was just the opposite thought. I wanted to get home. I wanted that breakfast. I will take the risk. So when he was in a confused state of mind at this moment, he thought that he would take the risk. And I flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. And the pilot, feeling very courageous, feeling very confident, flew his Dakota aircraft straight into the storm, and he felt that he will be able to cross the storm clouds. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. So when the author flew his aeroplane, Dakota, inside the clouds, everything seemed to be black all around. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air, jumped, Jumping here means turbulence. It was shaking like anything. So when the aeroplane, I hope you all must, some of you may be having this kind of experience of turbulence. You must have experienced the turbulence when you were in a flight. When there are clouds and the aeroplane flies within the clouds, then there is turbulence. And or sometimes when the weather is bad, also the aeroplane, there is turbulence in the aircraft. So the pilot, the author, felt that the old aeroplane jumped and it twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. So the author saw that there was no direction being shown by the compass. The compass needle was moving round and round and round. It was dead. So the compass of the aircraft had become dead. It was not working at all. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. So immediately the pilot, the author, thought that he should check the radio to send the transmission or the signal of help. He thought that he would need a help now. Paris Control, can you hear me? There was no answer. The radio was dead too. So he found out that the compass was not working, the other instruments were not working, even the radio was not working. He couldn't send a signal. He tried hard. He was thinking that he could send the message, but there was no reply. That means he understood that the radio was also dead. I had no radio, no compass, and I couldn't see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then in the black clouds quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. Suddenly, the author felt that he was lost in the storm, but there was another aeroplane beside his own aeroplane in the black clouds, and it was quite near to his aeroplane. It had no lights on its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. And he felt that it was next to him, but he couldn't see the lights. And he could see I could see the pilot's face even. The author says that he could see the pilot's face in that darkness all around him, turned towards me. And the pilot was looking at this author in his aircraft. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. "Follow me," he was saying. "Follow me." He knows that I am lost. I thought he is trying to help me. So he thought perhaps there was another aircraft coming behind him, and it came at his side. Maybe perhaps he had thought that this aircraft had lost its way, and therefore he waved at the pilot, that is the author, and he tried to help him. This is what the author felt. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota, so that it would be easier for me to follow him. So the author felt that the other plane which he could see, and that is what the title of the story is, The Black Aeroplane. He couldn't see the lights of the aeroplane, but he thought that in the darkness there was another aeroplane, and therefore the author calls it as a black aeroplane. And that aeroplane slowly turned towards the north, and it was a way to guide the Dakota aeroplane of the author. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. So the author says that as he was lost and he was nervous, he was afraid, so he just took his aeroplane, he flew his aeroplane just behind the black aeroplane, just like an obedient child. Where after half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds. So he felt that after half an hour, the black aeroplane was still there. Now there was only enough fuel in the old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. That is, they have limited fuel on the aircrafts. They cannot carry too much of fuel also. So it depends, the quantity of fuel depends upon the distance that the aircraft flies. So he says, the author says that his old Dakota had only enough fuel only left for 5 or 10 minutes of flying. I was starting to feel frightened again, but then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. So the author felt that if the fuel gets exhausted, then how will he fly further? So he had a feeling of fear in him and he was very much frightened. But then he started to go down. Then he suddenly felt that the black aeroplane was going down and I followed through the storm. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw 2 long straight lines of lights in front of me. It was a runway. Yes, everybody knows what is a runway. I told you a few minutes ago before reading the story. We had talked about runway, airstrip, which helps the aircrafts to take off and land. So suddenly the author says that they came out of the clouds and he saw 2 long straight lines of lights in front of him. Now on the runway, you must have seen the runway, that there are lights for the guidance of the pilots. The pilots can understand very easily that there is the runway where they can land the aircraft. An airport. I was safe. See, this is the exclamation. He was so happy. He had come out of his fear. Now he was feeling confident and he was no more frightened, and he felt there was an airport. He was safe. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. So when he looked around, he couldn't see the other black aeroplane. And there he was, the only one who was flying the aeroplane. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. I could not see it anywhere. So when the author was safe and he saw that he had spotted the runway, he thought that he would land his aircraft there. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. The author says that he landed safely. He was safe as well as the aircraft was safe. No harm had happened to them, and therefore he says that he was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. Since it was an old Dakota airplane, he had faced a lot of problems there in the clouds, and now when he felt that he had landed safely, he and the aircraft both were safe, he did not feel sorry because he had brought the Dakota aeroplane very safely on the runway. And near the runway where there was a control tower, I went and asked a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. So he went and asked the woman in charge who was in the control tower center to ask where I was. Now, why do you think this question he wanted to ask the woman where I was and who the other pilot was? These are the 2 things that he wanted to know. Where I was, because he had landed somewhere. Though there were problems high up in the sky, he faced the storm clouds, but finally after some time when he landed safely, he did not know where he had landed. He just saw and spotted the runway and the tower, the control tower, and therefore he wanted to know which place it was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. So he told the woman that I want to thank the other pilot who guided me towards this runway. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. So the woman was giving a very strange look, and the author thought that she was really puzzled, and she was surprised why he is asking such a question, who the other pilot was. Another aeroplane? Up there in the storm. No other aeroplanes were flying tonight. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. So the author says that the woman replied, the woman who was there in the control tower, she told the author that your aeroplane was the only one which was flying and got stuck up in the storm. There was no other aeroplane flying during this storm. And she said that she could see only one aeroplane of the author on the radar. Radar, I told you just now, that it spots the position, the angle, and the velocity of the aircrafts. So who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? This question remained as a question in the author's mind. He was still wondering that when the compass, the radio, the fuel, everything was just getting exhausted and not working, then who was the one to help him, enable him to land safely on the runway? He was really wondering who the pilot was in that strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights. Without lights, can you imagine? Any aeroplane flying without lights? Now this last question, which was there in the author's mind, what do you think, students? Was there a black aeroplane? Was there any other aeroplane which helped him? No. There was no other aeroplane but his own conscience, his own confidence, his own courage that enabled him, his presence of mind that made him land safely. Because even though there was the problem, he was stuck up in the storm clouds, he did not lose his mind. He did not lose his intelligence, and maybe his inner conscience. Due to his inner conscience, he felt that there was another black aeroplane which was guiding. In fact, it was his own aeroplane which he was trying to steer out or fly out of the clouds to find a safe place to land. And so this is how we get the message from this story, that we should not panic, we should not be nervous at the time of disaster. We should use our presence of mind to see that we come out of the dangers or the difficulties. So the author used his conscience, his presence of mind to come out of the difficulty, and therefore he was able to land safely. This is what happens when we lose control of our mind during the difficulties or problems. Then we get stuck up into that. But if we are cool-minded and we think in a logical manner, in a reasonable manner, then we come out successfully out of the difficulties. So children, now this is the story of the black aeroplane. Now in the next session, I will take up the summary and the question answers. So please read the story once again, although you have read it with me, but read it on your own you will be highly interested, and you will enjoy the story. Thank you.